Before I proceed any further, I'd like to express my thanks and my gratitude to Unique Melody and also MusicTeck for the unit that I am holding in front of me right now. Unique Melody MEST Jet Black, the latest series of Unique Melody MEST, and it is priced at around 1,700 US dollar. And the best part is that, again, I'd like to say huge thank you to MusicTeck especially, because if at the end of this video you decided to buy this, you can grab a very special discount of 400 US dollar off the price from MusicTeck up until Thanksgiving this month, 2025 in November. All you need to do is just key in a checkout code, which is thanks Andy at MusicTeck, and you're gonna get that 400 US dollar discount, which is really amazing, right? So let's just talk about this Jet Black. Do you like museum? I like museum. And welcome to the Museum of Malaysia, National Museum of Malaysia, or Museum Negara. And let's talk about this MEST Jet Black, which is officially the most exotic, the most unique IM which I have the pleasure to use so far, because it is entirely constructed of ceramic, or to be specific, zirconium based ceramic. And what's so special about this ceramic thing? You see, ceramic, when constructed properly, it is actually harder than metal. It offers the kind of density which is tougher than metal, and it is part of the sound tuning. The shell itself will impart some sort of acoustic influence to the sound itself. It seals better than metal shell IEM. It is kind of a bit heavy, almost 13 grams each side, and most importantly, it is also quite comfortable. I do not feel any kind of abrasiveness, any kind of edginess, and it feels as if I'm wearing metal shell IM. And inside, of course, you're gonna find equally exotic multiple quad drivers. 3 bone conduction drivers, and 2 of them are different. One of them designated for lower frequency, and the piezoelectric bone conduction driver, which is designated for upper frequency. The cable that I'm using right now is the other option, UM Dream cable, which is kind of a bit more expensive than the stock cable. As you can see here, it is not that too big. Despite being heavily braided, I am not getting any kind of microphonics, which is a huge plus. And it comes only terminated in permanently 4.4 mm balance. Being a hybrid with crossover, just like many other hybrid IM, you can expect Jet Black to be very easy to drive. And I was able to drive it properly. I would even say that when I connect it to my ultra compact dongle of Venture Electronic Devastator, I was already getting the kind of sound which I would consider as satisfying, with good amount of balance between technical and musicality. And of course, the bigger question right now is that how does it scale with more power? And when I attach this Jet Black to my favorite dongle, which is Time Ear BTE9 240 milliwatt of power, then I am hearing immediate response from this IEM. It improved a lot, especially with the dynamic authority, dynamic extension, and the soundstage itself. And in fact, when I scale it even further with 710 milliwatt of power from my Hi-B R8 Mark II flagship DAP, which is Class A amplification, by the way, the most important thing is that I am not hearing any kind of floor noises at all, which means that despite being very efficient, very sensitive, Jet Black will not emit any kind of floor noises at all, which is very impressive. And on top of it, it also improved a lot more on the technical side. I'm getting a bit more of layering and separation definition, which is truly flagship level. The soundstage, the tonality, the balance, everything just sounded perfect when I use Jet Black with my Hi-B R8 Mark II. It is common knowledge that unique melody is an elite when it comes to IEM manufacturing. The IEM has been known, especially the MEST series, which I am holding in my hand right now, the very first edition of unique melody MEST. And here, the latest one, MEST Jet Black. So you might be wondering, what are the comparison, what are the differences, and more importantly, what are the improvements that this Jet Black offer from the previous iteration of MEST series, which is, let me remind you again, quite amazing. It doesn't require me to say so because so many users and so many reviewers have said the same thing. Unique Melody MEST are amazing IM for the price asked. So let's just start with the comparison against Unique Melody MEST Mark 1 versus Jet Black. Obviously, the build and the construction is different. They are vastly different. You can clearly see here that Unique Melody MEST Mark 1, entirely constructed of resin, it also contains 3 types of driver hybrid. So there's no EST inside here. They only have this typical balance amateur, but they already have bone conduction driver, the first generation of bone conduction driver. Jet Black contains 3 bone conduction driver, like I mentioned earlier, and improved set of drivers and crossover throughout the entire construction. The first prominent changes would be, of course, the way it handles the dynamic presentation. Why would you want to have a bone conduction? Is that because you want to feel your music, that tactile response, especially in the lower frequency. And considering that this Jet Black offers both upper frequency and also low frequency bone conduction, this is definitely more tactile sounding than this impact, slam, or literally how it is, how the sound, the audio are translated into, funnel into your ears. You can feel it, not just by listening to it. That is the appeal of bone conduction. And talking about bone conduction, another key element is that the ear tip that you choose. I am so very lucky that the default ear tip here seems to work very well with me, because in order to get that benefit of bone conduction, that triple bone conduction inside this Jet Black, you must use proper size ear tip with the kind of contact to the ear funnel to make sure that the bone conduction would be able to conduct that vibration of audio to your senses. But if you are not getting proper seal or the ear tip does not match you, then you can probably try different kind of ear tip, even ear tips which are not included with this Jet Black. And again, let me just repeat, bone conduction effect is much stronger here as compared to this. And of course, second one would be the overall resolution and imaging. I do feel that there is an improvement, but you might be wondering by how much. I might even say that at max, because this was already super impressive when it comes to technicalities, when it comes to layering, separation, details, macro and micro details, you name it, everything. And this would offer the same thing. The improvement would be at around, at best, 5%, honestly. Not that much, you might even say. But let me just halt you there. The biggest differences would be how it presents the sound itself. Because this MEST Mark 1 has been known to be kind of a bit sizzling, kind of a bit bright, kind of a bit too energetic to some people. And the same can be said here. It is still energetic, it is still vibrant, it is kind of a bit slightly on the brighter side, but it is non-offensive sounding. In fact, I would even declare that this is not as bright sounding as this MEST Mark 1, which also means that as a side effect of it, it is a bit more musical sounding now. It offers richer and denser texture of body of sound, anywhere from upper, mid-range, all the way to lower frequency. It is a bit more tactile, again, due to that extra bone conduction and also the implementation of the dynamic driver, which is very well executed with the EST and everything. Everything just sounds so harmonious. I am hearing the kind of flow of transient speed, which is very fast, by the way, very resolving, can resolve any kind of very complex music or very fast music without any hint of edginess to it, provided that you drive it properly, of course. When it comes to timbre and tonality, you can be rest assured that this Jet Black sounded more organic, more natural, more analog sounding as compared to the more energetic, technical focus MEST Mark 1. And of course, you might be wondering, how about soundstage and spatial imaging? I might even say that both of them, at least to my ear, they are pretty much on equal footing. When it comes to soundstage size, it is fairly wide and open sounding for a closed back IEM like this, and the spatial holographic imaging is definitely very suitable for any type of music, or even gaming, or even watching movies, or even binaural type of music. And of course, You might be also wondering, how does this Jet Black compare against some of the competition at above 1000 and above price point? Something like Afu Dawn X, or even something like BG-VP Solomon, or even something like FIO FX17, or even FA19, which I had the pleasure to review previously. So let's just get started with Afu Dawn X. It is without doubt clear to me that this is a superior unit if I were to compare it directly with Afu Dawn X. When it comes to technicalities, it offers a bit more of resolution, a bit more of, let's say, imaging density, the depth, the vertical depth of the imaging itself. To my estimation, if I were to compare it with Dawn X, this would offer at around 5% better when it comes to technicalities as compared to Dawn X. In return, you also get a bit more of energy, a bit more of sparkle coming from this Jet Black as compared to Afu Dawn X. And of course, compare against BG-VP Solomon, which happened to be one of my topmost favorite for flagship IM this year. I just gonna put it this way. BG-VP Solomon is definitely warmer sounding, more colored, a bit more denser with the texture and the body of the sound itself, because it focuses less on being technical, warmer sounding. And I love it. I always love warmer sounding IM. But in exchange, it is also 5% less technical sounding as compared to this Jet Black. And perhaps the most accurate comparison would be against FIO FX17. FX17 and Jet Black actually compete 1-to-1. But the main difference is that FX17 does not have any kind of bone conduction. And I might even say that FX17 offer more of a reference kind of sound, less energetic, less vibrant, a bit more mature with the way it handles the dynamic transient itself. It is also more transparent and more neutral sounding. But then again, if you want something which is a bit more musical, a bit denser with the texture of body of sound, a bit better with the lower frequency, especially the mid bass and also the sub bass because of that bone conduction effect, then Jet Black is clearly the better IM as compared to FX17. Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end. Without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of AndyAV. And also, if you'd like to support me directly, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene.